Hello, my name's Brenna, and my presentation is about social media addiction. Social media addiction is an unhealthy dependence on any website or mobile application that falls under the classification of social media. So, social media is pretty much any website or mobile application that allows users to create and share content, communicate with one another, and participate in general social networking. Now, an addiction becomes an addiction when it negatively impacts an individual's daily routines or relationships. We'll talk more about the signs and symptoms of a social media addiction, as well as treatment for those who might be questioning their relationship with social media today. All of these are examples of different types of social media websites and applications. Facebook and YouTube are the most popular social media sites worldwide, but TikTok is increasing in popularity and quickly becoming the most popular platform among adolescent users. Twitter is also one of the most popular social media websites in the world. Now, here's some statistics about social media and internet use. 98% of young adults in Western countries are online. Now, these young adults aren't necessarily on social media. However, they do have an online presence in some way, shape, or form. 56.8% of the world's total population, so 4.8 billion people, are active on social media today. In North America, more women use social media than men. This is a fairly common trend in most countries in the world, and it's not a huge difference, but it is a noticeable difference. If you look to the right, you'll see a graph that shows the percent of age range that uses social media, and this is in the United States. In the 18 to 29 age range, we can see it has the most amount of social media users at 84% of that age range using social media. Also, you can see the population that uses the least amount of social media is the 65 plus population, but there's still 45% of them using social media. Here's some other facts on social media addiction. 5 to 10% of Americans suffer from a social media addiction. Those already suffering from a mental health problem are more likely to develop a social media addiction. So pre-existing mental health conditions like anxiety, depression, etc., it's more likely those people are going to develop any type of addiction, even a social media addiction. Now, according to Facebook's own research, 12% of its users engage in compulsive media behavior. And again, that one is a worldwide statistic. And if you look to the right, you'll see a visual representation of 70% of teens who use social media for 5 hours a day. Those 70% of teens have a greater risk of committing suicide than their peers who use less than 5 hours a day of social media. You might be wondering what the harm of social media addiction is. While it doesn't seem outwardly detrimental to the addict's health like drugs, it creates the same network of reward systems in the brain. Every interaction with social media is like a hit of dopamine to the user, much like the dopamine rush experienced by engaging in other highly addictive behaviors, such as illicit drug use, gambling, or shopping. This damaged dopamine reward system impacts the addict's behavior in a number of ways and creates difficulty distancing oneself from social media, and the user might engage in risky behaviors in order to gain more attention. Those who use social media in excess report feelings of FOMO, or fear of missing out. Since those who often share their lives on social media only share the highlights or the positive pieces, those consuming that media are going to compare their own lives they find with the ones they find online and feel inadequacy, anxiety, and depression about their own lives or experiences in comparison. Something important to note is that social media is extremely harmful to adolescents and children as their brains and social skills are still in development. Now, half of children aged 11 to 12 have a social media account, even when the minimum age for most sites is 13. So it's important not to overlook that there are children on social media, even if we're not intending them to be. 27% of children 12 and under who spend more than just 3 hours a day on social media experience mental health issues. This is compared to the 5 hours a day that affects teenagers negatively. And it's really important that we're looking at this because COVID has increased social media use among children, and they spent 76% more time on social media in 2020 than they did in 2019. If social media addiction is so negative and is rising in cases, what's the solution? The first step is recognizing the signs in yourself or others who may be suffering from an unhealthy relationship with social media. If you answer yes to 3 or more questions on the left, you may be suffering from a social media addiction. Besides recognizing that there is a problem, there's a couple steps one can take to actively work on their social media addiction. Number 1, speak to a therapist. Working with a mental health professional can help you recognize the personal reasons why you might be struggling with social media, as well as resolving some of the negative mental health effects that come with the social media addiction, such as low self-esteem, FOMO, depression, and anxiety. Number 2, start by slowly spending more and more time away from social media. Delete the most problematic apps on your phone. Spending a month away from social media is an effective enough time period to reset the dopamine reward system in our brains. Number 3, limit your future social media use. If you do decide to come back to using social media after your detox, do this by creating a social media schedule for yourself. Avoid using social media for at least 30 minutes before bed. Turn off social media notifications on your devices. Limit your social media apps to one device. And keep social media apps off of your home screen. Social media addiction is not a joke and requires as much counseling and recognition as any other type of addiction. If you or someone you know is suffering from a social media addiction, the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration provides resources to help, such as their national hotline listed on this slide. And here's my works cited page. Thank you.